Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this Ag Forecast for South America, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. I want to start you off with a couple of maps here from the satellite called GRACE. And remember, this is a satellite that can measure soil moisture values, and it does it using a really cool technique where it looks for minute shifts in gravity. That's actually what the G in GRACE stands for. Now, we're going to start off first with the latest map from September 20th. We'll get a new one of these coming up very soon here for this year. And the idea has been that we've yet to see the full establishment of the monsoon. So we do see much of Brazil's eastern growing areas, plus this pocket right in through here still showing up quite dry. Now there have been some scattered storms that have come into parts of Mato Grosso and maybe Tocantins and Para, but other than that, we still are waiting for the monsoon to really arrive. But what's important to do is to compare this to a year ago. So this is how things look like a year ago. So this is September 14th, so mid-September of last year. And we were already starting to see this region getting drier, and we still had the same kind of areas that were showing up drier a year ago. But what we were doing right now last year was moving into about a 6-week time period where we just failed to see the monsoon become established. And while I don't think that's going to be the situation again this year, and that's kind of been the narrative that I've been carrying, I do want to explain to you that we have had some drier trends in the models. I think we should just take a look at what's going on there. So first of all, how about we go look at, let's go here. There we go. Let's go look at the last 10 days using the standard precipitation index. This is from CHIRPS. This kind of gives us an idea on drought severity. And we do start to see that we do have a few regions in here beginning to show up in that moderate drought category. All right, we've been much wetter to the south, and we're going to continue to get much wetter to the south. But this is still not the same magnitude of dryness that we saw a year ago, and that's really what I want to establish here. On the other side of it, I'd like to show you some of the latest data I've got for satellite-derived precipitation. Maybe if I blow that up a little bit easier to see there. This is what I've measured, this is what the GPM, the Global Precipitation Measurement Mission, has measured since the beginning of September. And when we look at these maps, sometimes it's good to kind of put a threshold on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove everything below 2 inches, or about 60 millimeters, okay? So let's blow that up too so you can see it. So again, this is all of it, and this is what happens when I make white everything less than 2 inches, or roughly 60 millimeters. So this is the area that we want to fill in if we're going to get this monsoon going. It's been very wet to the south. It's been wet in through the Amazon, but this is the region that's waiting on a bit more precipitation to really just fly through planting. Now, you've all seen the planting progress maps. We're not yet to the point where this has to just, really establish that soil moisture to get going, but it's getting to be a critical time period. We continue to see stuff like this as I just rock back toward the end of the day today. There's a lot of scattered convection here. You can see it. It's just not the more widespread rains that we can get this time of year. And notice as the sun was setting here this afternoon and this evening, we were still quite dry in a large section here where we need to bring in that moisture. All the scattered stuff has been over in this area. Okay, from there, I'd like to talk about maybe what's controlling the pattern. And we're going to start first with something called the Antarctic Oscillation, or it's sometimes called the Southern Annular Mode. Now, since mid-August, the values roughly increased. And then at the beginning of September, they dropped a little bit, then they rose here over the last week, and then they're forecast to do something like that. Now, what's the point in looking at this? Well, what we're going to see here is that when we look at the correlation of precipitation rate in September and October, you find that when the Antarctic Oscillation, or the Southern Annular Mode, is positive, we tend to be wetter in this area and drier to the south. Now, what are we doing in the near term? We're actually seeing these values drop back off, and then they're expected to make a quick rebound. So using that, we do expect that it's going to be the southern growing areas that could show up wetter in the near term. And we might delay some of the rains here a little while longer, just using the Southern Annular Mode, or the Antarctic Oscillation, as a guide. On the other side of this, we have the MJO, and it has spent about 45 days here in phases 2 and 3, and is expected to move back over toward the Western Pacific. Now, what that ends up doing is this, okay? I'll show it to you a couple of different ways. If we look here at a time height diagram, or not time height, excuse me, this is a Hofmüller diagram. So this would be time and this would be longitude. We do see that in the near term, the best rising motion remains here. But we expect, look at this, see the progression? We expect to see better rising motion with time moving over parts of South America. And maybe it might be more easier seen here. So for the next 5 days, best rising motion is there, and we don't see it over parts of South America. But if we go out there and look at day 11 through 15, we now start to see that shift. So the question is, does that mean we're going to finally move the moisture in and fully establish the monsoon? Because my narrative last week was that I thought it would be here already. But it seems as though we've had to kick that can down the road a little bit and things have stalled out a little bit. So let's take a look at some of the newest data. Now we expect this, right? Over the next 10 days, we're going to be slightly drier than normal in through this area, but much wetter than average. I'll show you why in a few moments down here in Paraná, southern Mato Grosso do Sul, and Santa Catarina. Those are those provinces there. And here's Sao Paulo as well. We're drier into Uruguay and Argentina as well. And what's going on here is this. As we play forward using the 12Z European model, we do see that there's a front that's becoming established by late this week that's going to race through this area. And what's going to end up happening is along that front, we're going to get some heavier rain. And then a second front is going to build into the same region by the time we get into Sunday. Other than that, it's scattered convection north of that line, which means this area is still dry. And that's a big area that I kind of just scribbled through there. It's very wet to the south, scattered storms to the north, but there's a section here that's going to get missed. Now going out here into early next week, this would be next Sunday, we're just looking at Saturday. Here's Sunday. We do see possibly that the front advances a little bit farther to the north, but going from Sunday into Monday and then out to Tuesday and Wednesday, we look out here all the way at day 10, and what we just don't see is the big bright flashes of green that come in when the monsoon's fully established. So we come back to our next 10 days, and what you end up getting is this outlook. Or if we look at the total accumulated precipitation, it's going to look something like this. So as we said, through the end of this week, getting here into Saturday and then Sunday, this is the area in between that is still waiting on the moisture to return. Better scattered storms north, the front stalling out to the south. We may be looking at some very heavy rain here. Already 2 fronts coming through by this upcoming Sunday. And then going into next week, well, the models just keep getting more generous the farther out you go with moisture in this area. Well, moisture in that area. Brazil's eastern growing areas just still have yet to get that moisture in there. What about week 2? Only looking at week 2. The models dry out south of that line, and they see normal precipitation for this time in October for Mato Grosso do Sul, and better moisture here. But we've already seen that the week 2 forecast from the previous runs I talked about last week was a bit too generous with the rainfall. So we'll just have to watch to see if this continues. And in the long range, this is the newest data we have through the month of October. The major trend I want you to see is that this area did trend a little bit drier. Now, is it so dry that we're not going to be able to get a crop established? No. There's still going to be 100+ millimeters of rainfall in the area. That's 4 inches of rain. It's just, it can normally at this time of year get upwards of 5 inches of rain in this area. And we're wetter in these growing areas. Now, if this were to come true, we were to get a little drier to the south, this would be a forecast that would be favorable for normal progression of planting throughout the month of October. But as we slide our 30-day window, let's just get it all the way out here to the end. This would be October 12th through November the 12th. We don't see much change, right? This area still hangs on to its drier bias, and so does the southern region as well. So I think we're going to have to watch both the Antarctic Oscillation and the MJO to see how the two of those things are going to team up with the overall circulation of this monsoon to see if it gets fully established or not. There's indications it will, and it's certainly not looking like the delays we saw a year ago. But it's not the fast start that I had thought I had seen over the last couple of weeks taking place about this time of year. So we'll watch it. I'll report back to you on Thursday. Appreciate it. Thank you.